Fingers crossed. Bye. We tested this constantly today because we've had one time it worked, one time it didn't, one time it worked. Ever since we went to YouTube, it's been more problems than when it was just connected to Facebook. So,
Does it have something to do with everyone's phones in here?
no, because now we're hardwired in, so it
Oh.
doesn't have anything to do with that. It's the YouTube connection. We don't know what's going on, that we've experimented with a number of things, and it's just been one problem after another since we went to YouTube.
It's actually something to do with YouTube. It's-
Yeah,
And it looks like it's working now.
yep.
All right, we're good.
All right, we are back in session. Thank you for your patience. Thank you to those viewers at home who are watching. Ms. Buchanan, have we met certification of compliance of open meeting law?
Yes, we have.
Thank you very much. Item number 3, motion to move March 2025 regular town board meeting to March 24, 2025. This was done at the last town board meeting. It was not properly noticed, and so to correct that lack of notification, we are doing it in open session tonight with it being noticed on the agenda. So
I'll make a motion to move the March 2025 regular town board meeting to March 24th, 2025.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Item number 4, discussion on items to move to include on the 2025 annual meeting agenda. I would like a,
So far, I have obviously last year's minutes,
Yep.
the 2024 audit by our Baker Tilly partner, and then wake boats and seaplanes.
okay,
Anything,
I wanna make sure that on the wake boat thing, that there cannot be any action.
It's an
right?
advisory.
Information only, correct? From
It's
the
an
public?
advisory.
it's an advisory
To
vote.
us.
To us.
correct.
So
You-
that- so they're-
The town residents can't make that action. You guys have to make the action.
Okay.
So they're just advising you how they all feel.
Okay, all right. I just wanna make sure that that's,
It might be helpful to
can we put that
What- explain
on?
that.
What will be the
It will
question?
be, it will be.
Yeah.
I'll do
Advisory.
a much better description. I'm just throwing out the basics.
Yeah,
of
I
what
just don't
have
wanna get
now.
into that argument during that
Yeah.
meeting, you know what I mean? So as long as everyone knows
So
that.
what exactly will be the questions to the electors here?
It will be, it'll be like, we'll have options like a B or C, D kind of option, ban completely. And this is all for further discussion by you all, but like ban completely, ban with restrictions, or allow with restrictions,
Yeah.
open,
You'll have to
whatever.
Okay, I'm just making sure. I
Yeah,
just,
we'll have to just.
And y'all need to think about what you think about those, so.
So that'll have to be on the March agenda again.
Correct, yeah.
Will we have time to have that on the March agenda? Because don't you have to have it in the paper?
Because we're so late.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
are
but
late.
actually, the agenda has to be,
In by the
The annual
12th,
meeting has to
isn't
be
it?
posted.
it has to be posted on the 24th. So,
Jennifer, shouldn't we listen to what the electors have to say first and then come up with those, ban or no ban?
Yeah.
yeah,
what
but we want to do an advisory question
She,
at the annual meeting so that the voters can
Okay.
have input. So
Understood.
we're gonna
Okay.
have to, and if you email me your comments, I can, put them
incorporated
all
it
together
into a
and
question.
make sure we're hitting all 3, 4 options. So,
And Supervisor Leonard, when you get that advisory vote from the electors, you're not making the decision that night as
Correct.
a board.
Right,
No.
understood.
so I will send out an email asking you for your options.
Anybody else have any annual meeting item to add to the agenda? Hearing none, we'll continue on. That takes us to item number 5, Beulah Heights Culvert Emergency Repair. DPW Superintendent Shield, could you come enlighten us?
I was informed on
Miss-
Monday.
Ms. Lowe, could you advance?
Yep.
Thank you.
We had this head wall on both sides slated for repair this year. We budgeted 35,000 for repair. Notified on Monday that we actually had a collapse. Last year, there was probably a 2 foot by 2 foot piece that had fallen out in that same spot. So I'm guessing the freeze thaw, it just blew out with the rain that we had the other night. Cause now it's starting to impede on the roadway. I met with Craig Webster from the DNR, met with Tim Lynch, that does a lot of our engineering today out there, and trying to get somewhat of a plan together, because all our stream crossings and all that throughout the whole township are this type of head wall, this old 100-year-old stone and concrete, no rebar, no mesh, no fiber mesh. I mean, old land and stone, field stone, whatever they could throw in there with some sand and water. But we have to address it to a higher extent now to do a permanent fix on it, so it holds the road up. Talking with Tim Lynch today, he's gonna try and get us a proposal together, and he's thinking somewhere in the neighborhood of $100,000 for each side, and that's a permanent fix.
Do both sides need to be done at the same time?
Looking at the other side, this would be on the north side, opposite of the lake. The lake's on the south side. There is starting to be we just noticed it today. I forgot to take pictures of it. There's a spot that's about to do the same thing.
Okay.
And that would be, if you're looking at the lake, it'd be on the southeast corner.
Yeah, I think I shot the north side,
Yeah, that's
not
just the
the
north side, yeah.
south.
The culvert and all that itself, when we had it inspected, we did the 16 to 20 foot bridge, or not bridge, culverts last year. And this one we actually had inspected by the state through core engineering. And the culvert and all that itself is fine. It's just their main thing was the head walls that were getting so deteriorated.
And the head walls are what support the road, correct?
Yeah, that holds all the embankment up and keeps everything from washing down.
And if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Webster said that if there is a collapse, it causes problems with the environmental stabilization
Yeah, just
of
the
the lake
stabilization of the ground.
and navigation.
Yep, and a lot of that now with the debris has fallen in and it's partially blocking that culvert, so that's gonna impede boat traffic trying to get through. And I had further discussion with him this evening about removing that, and he says that's not gonna be a problem, we just gotta get some permits, so. But this is gonna even be outside of the $35,000 that we had budgeted to fix it, so.
Time frame?
I will not know that till I get a proposal from them. Right now, we have it all sandbagged along there to keep water from washing down over farther. It's now gonna run a little bit farther to the west and run down to try and keep any more erosion from that. The ground itself there with Craig and myself and Tim Lynch is pretty stable. It's clay and, good soil, so unless we get big gully washers before we get in there. But we're gonna try and get some more sandbags filled and try and brace it all up in there and try and hold it all in place. Unfortunately, this is beyond our
Scope, right.
scope of practice and repair that we could do. Now it's up to an engineering to get what needs to be done. And so it's gonna be an emergency repair and an emergency cost.
Are there safety concerns?
As of right now, no. The one thing that we did talk about, Mr. Lynch and Craig, is maybe shutting it down to 1 lane
Right.
and lowering the speed limit to like 15 through there, just till it's fixed. There's a lot of it do with vibration of the road,
Right.
putting a weight limit on it. Our weight limits are going on tomorrow anyways, so at least for probably a month's time, you're gonna be limited to 8 tons anyways.
What happens if we get a foot of snow? We gotta get snow plow down through there.
We'll get through.
Okay.
It's, like I said, as of right now, we don't plan on shutting it down to 1 lane.
Did Mr. Lynch give any idea of a time frame,
He's hoping to have a proposal to us by early next week
a proposal, and then,
with cost and all that, so.
and And Kim, we haven't done our borrowing for this year, right, so.
No.
okay.
No.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not gonna be the,
Yeah,
Budget.
we will have to do a budget
Amend our
amendment, yeah,
road budget.
yeah.
yeah. And then there's some other stuff, the fire district and plow truck and
Things are
squad
changing.
situation
Right.
that we'll have to iron out.
Yeah. But it's just, it's getting it on your guys' radar that this needs to get done, this is something we cannot put off.
Yeah. Mr. Webster from the DNR called me yesterday and said this is a priority emergency to address.
But he said, I've been asking about it for about 3 years ago, we started talking.
We started talking about it.
Started
yeah.
talking about it,
Right.
cause these cracks, actually live in the channel, and this is my only way out to the lake. These cracks have been growing quite a bit each year, and we have winter, we have freeze thaw, that's just a part of it, and like Todd said, these are original deals, it's nobody necessarily, anybody's fault, but this is something that's been coming, that's been discussed, and I know Craig said it was fine, I think it was like a year ago, it looked to be in decent shape, it was undermining, behind that spot where that one deal blew out, but
Yeah, unfortunately, it's just got a little tiny rock wall, and where the
Yep.
water runs off, it hits that wall, and it actually runs down behind it.
Yep, and I've got caught in big rains, and if you're looking at this picture to the left where the water runs down off the road, there's a small culvert to divert it so it doesn't go over the bridge. I mean, it's really cool looking, but it is a waterfall. I mean, there is a lot of water in big rains that come
Yeah,
down through it.
unfortunately, that's right at the bottom of a pretty good steep hill.
Right.
Yep, exactly.
So it sees a lot of water, and it's split both ways,
Mm-hmm.
because the south side is not in much better shape.
You know, they usually have to refill the driveway each year, cause it just washes it out on the opposite side,
Yep.
typically, but there is a lot of neighbors that have called, since this picture came out, I think, on
Okay.
Monday. And, there is a concern for safety, but, B, just something to consider, because we can discuss this, right? That's because we're on the agenda, is, when that comes time, and everybody, you probably have more people coming when this is on the agenda, but being able to get in and out for the summer is, everybody loves boating, is gonna be a concern when they're doing it, and I
It very
understand.
well probably will be impacted by some sort.
But I don't,
As far as not being able to get through, I couldn't tell you yes or no until,
sure, until you get plans and figure it, but I'm just saying, these questions are gonna be coming, and they're gonna be, they're gonna be coming quick, even if there's a temporary, and I don't know the rules and regulations, but even a temporary mooring during the construction process, if people can't get out of the channel with their boats, is it a possibility of a temporary mooring just outside when you come out of the channel? I'm just trying to think ahead, just so people can prepare for that, that way everyone can still utilize the lake. It's a bit of an inconvenience, but obviously this is something that needs to be done.
It's
But,
critical.
if we try to work together with fixing it and trying to keep a few people happy, that would be great too, just keep in
one
mind.
oddball with this is where that collapses is actually outside of our road right away. So it's
That's
gonna be working with landowners on both sides. We're gonna need construction easements, it's gonna be not just a quick fix anymore. What we were gonna do anyways was gonna be a Band-Aid for who knows how long.
Yep.
Eventually, all of these little head walls throughout our whole township are gonna have to get something done.
Right.
We have another one that's starting to happen over on Carver School Road, but we think we can fix that, we got zero with Tim today.
Sure. Is this, how far are we out of the road right of way? It's gotta be close, right?
The right of way through there is almost just the edge of the road.
So,
Is-
the edges of the road?
Yeah,
Okay.
I pull it up on GIS, it would be on the northwest side, it jogs towards the gentleman's driveway, and on the southeast side, it jogs out, it kind of shifts through there. But right through there, the edge of the road is pretty much a road right out.
Gotcha, so it is placed where it's supposed, I know like a lot of these lake roads, when I was looking at easements and such, like the road in front of my house actually should be 30 feet into the neighbors, just because when they're originally two rut paths, they just paved them.
Yeah.
Paved what everybody was using, but they're not actually where the road belongs, which is
Yeah.
kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So funding wise, we're looking for, when you're saying, looking for neighbors like the gentleman in the blue house, and then on both sides of the channel, are you looking for
It's gonna be on basically all four corners. We're
The
gonna need
four
some-
corners, that's you, I just didn't know if you wanna talk to residents that are, yet utilize that, or whatever the case may be.
No, it's gonna be landowners that
Directly right there.
Yep.
Okay.
directly adjoins that property.
Cause it's an easement on the, see the northeast, across the street, directly across from where that
Yeah.
fell in.
Yeah.
That's an easement right there on that corner, so.
All right, just to summarize, we have Lynch doing the engineering, hopefully early next week, it'll be to us,
Yeah,
and then we'll have to decide next steps.
yeah, it'll have to go out on bids, but he said with this being an emergency, there's a lot of things that'll change because of the importance of the stabilization of the road.
Can I ask, one thing? When they do the bid, can you have them break it down if they did it one side only as
Yeah.
opposed to both?
Yeah, I
And if they had to come back, just so,
Yeah.
cause I assume we'll save money by doing both at the same time than doing one side and then having to come back. Just so everyone
Yeah.
realizes that.
Yeah, cause that went through my head, I'm like, okay, we'll do one side this year for $100,000, the other side next year, might not be $100,000.
Right.
So,
Or maybe they'll give us savings to do both sides,
Cause they're already gonna be
cause
there.
they're there.
You fix one side, isn't gonna put more pressure on the other side also.
Correct.
Yeah, and busting it out, the vibration, what do you know what's gonna happen, right?
Yeah, it's.
The other question that had already come up, you have to be able to travel through there, obviously, right, with homes, because that's the only way to get that direction. There wouldn't be a shutdown of road, I mean, there would, I mean,
Uh,
restricted,
Down
but,
one lane.
If anything, it'll be down to one lane, barring no major catastrophe.
Sure.
hopefully.
right, okay.
Otherwise, there is a way through to do, try and get agreement to put a temporary one through.
It's a
that
little-
involves the other landowners on the actual lakeside, put a temporary bridge in, which is one thing we're trying not to do.
That doesn't
Sounds
sound like
expensive.
fun.
Get
Yeah,
your
but as far
backpack,
as
Chad.
Completely shutting the road down, that'll happen, that will never happen, it should just end up being one lane.
Okay,
I mean, it's slow speed, we might even end up reducing the speed limit down there to 15,
sure,
if that
Yeah.
happens. It just, it's such in a bad spot right at the base of that hill.
yep, no, I hear you. Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you for your quick action. Don't go too far. All right, any other discussion on item number 5?
Will we need to plan another special board meeting once?
It's a possibility once
Assuming
we
that
get
the
the
proposal is
proposal
on
from
Monday.
Lynch. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know, when we get it back, depending on how quick we get it back,
Then you'll have to put it out for bid,
yeah.
and then once we get bids back,
Oh, okay.
that'll
then
definitely
we
be,
have to meet again.
Meetings
So
are
the
ready.
24th might be good timing.
yeah,
It
might be.
So, and Tim said that this could happen in as little as 2 weeks, because of being in the emergency situation.
Okay. Item number 6, discussion, review, and scoring of Beach Road Bridge proposals. All right, this is, in regards to the Beach Road Bridge that is just out here. The town received a grant for that. In order to accept the grant, we needed to evaluate we needed to choose 3 designers from the 9 proposals that were submitted for the bridge. 4 of us met last night, that included Superintendent Shield, Ty Leonard, myself, and a resident who is a civil engineer with a road building company. So he is very familiar with not only the Beach Road Bridge, but what needs to be done. And so the 4 of us went through and evaluated all 9 proposals. We have whittled it down to 3. Michelle and Joe, you weren't there. If you want to, when we get to, I'm gonna do the three that we chose. If you have comments on those three, feel free to share them when we get to that company proposal. The presentation doesn't have them in any specific order. It was recommended that we go with three and we interview three. I know that, yesterday, Mr. Shield met with the county and, DPW Superintendent Rich Huff and engineer,
The county highway engineer Joel Kroll.
also took a look at the proposals. They cannot tell us which ones to go with or not choose. But they did look at the proposals and give us some suggestions. So as a group of four last night, we went through and met. The first one, we're gonna do in alphabetical order. Our first proposal came from Ayers. That's the first one that, we're gonna present. The pros were the explanation they gave us was detailed. They offered alternative designs. They looked at other costs such as moving the utilities and how many utilities there were. There was also lots of bridge experience with that proposal. Michelle, Joe, or Chad, do you have anything that you might want to add to Ayers?
Yeah, I would agree, that it was well put together, very detailed. Although on my sourcing side said, they're incurring costs with the format that they had. Oh, maybe I'm thinking of the meeting, not one. But, yeah, I thought it was very well thought out. The only thing I noted was, in the schedule, we had talked about the 30%, 60, and 90% plans. And Ayers, wasn't kicking off until July of 2025. I think most of the others were earlier than that. But they did not include the 30 or 90% plan, only the 60% plan, and that wasn't until September of 27, which seemed far out compared to some of the other ones.
Okay, Joe? No.
Like Michelle said, I guess that's about where I was at. I narrowed down, what I did is I narrowed down my three. I don't think I had them in my three.
Okay.
So.
Chad?
yes.
I just, from what I was looking up, they're big. Big company. You know, proposals started looking a little bit of the same. I did have a couple notes on other ones, but no, I have nothing in particular on that particular one.
Mr. Klarkowski did look at them. He rated them 2-3. He said that, he gave them 10s, which is how the DOT would rate them on project team, experience, and availability. The advantage that they had the most year of experience, doing lots of DOT projects, but the project manager had the least number of years of experience, so that was what came through on Ayers.
It was nice that he was local. Yeah.
Yeah.
Project manager.
Okay, next one. All right, Baxter and Woodman alphabetically, this one is number 2. The pros are, they have a lot of experience in Walworth County. I know that they just completed 2 projects in Lynn. They came in under budget and, they kept the project moving so that it was done as quickly as possible. They have a low number of change orders, and the company is the most local out of all the ones that were submitted, as they are from Burlington, Wisconsin. Michelle, did you have anything?
Nope, I agree, yeah, they had 6 bridge projects in southeast Wisconsin in the last 2 years, so that was, they're local, multiple railroad bridges. Just to kind of put it in perspective, looking at the 30, 60, 90 plan, like I mentioned, Ayers had the 60% in September of 27. Baxter and Woodman had this 60% in June of '26. So that was a
Interesting.
significant difference. But they, yeah, and they had the full project plan as well. And I liked, yeah, that they were local.
Joe?
I liked that they were local. I'm preference to local Wisconsin companies, so.
Chad, anything to?
Yeah, as I was trying to fire through a lot of these, the one thing that I was putting on one of my notes is they're talking that it would have to be a possibility, and maybe this is with all of them, but removing the rail car lines, the cable car lines in order to do the project, but I didn't notice that in any other scopes of work, that
The
that would
power
be a
lines?
must. No, I didn't circle it, but I kept writing notes. There was discussion that it might have to bring down the railroad car lines, is what I was reading. And that was the only spot I saw that looking at all of these, and I just didn't know if that was even if everybody was gonna have to do that, because no, I
I
didn't
hadn't
see it.
seen that
I
in
didn't see that
anybody's
in
proposals.
anywhere else, but I did not highlight the
I wonder
spot,
if he's
but,
talking about like the electric line or the actual rail ties?
yeah, no, the railroad, like, the
Like
part that
railroad.
runs a rail car.
The
It
the
runs-
high power 600 volt line.
Yeah.
That's gonna have to come down on
Yeah.
all of them, because that's physically
Yeah.
attached to the bottom.
For,
Yeah.
that's what runs the rail
Yeah,
cars
yeah.
themselves. I was just, that was the only one that actually, I saw it in writing, so that's why, that was my
Okay.
only question, if that was gonna have to happen no matter what.
Yeah.
Cause there was one proposal, I'm not sure which one, but they were talking about being able to pause when they had special events during, so that's what made me question how, are they gonna rehook it back up during the special
Right.
events, so. That was the only thing I had.
Okay,
I was surprised they didn't mention like the emergency services at all. That was one of the things, you know, like the police department and the access and things like that.
That Baxter and Woodman didn't?
No.
Yeah. I know some of them did and
They
some of
did a
them didn't.
bridge in the town of Lynn, and we have
Right.
Supervisor Leith from the town of Lynn.
right.
Do you guys recall working with them?
Yeah.
Baxter and Woodman? Good reviews?
They were pretty spot on with their timetable. We had them for a different application where we ended up having to put in a temporary bridge situation, much like we were discussing earlier. So, they're very good at bringing all of their information to the public and doing a lot of the PR to explain what's happening, the timetables, and giving the information so that, you know, the town board itself doesn't have to deal with it. They're open, they'll give you paperwork, and take care of all of those issues. So, we had an understanding, and we kept pretty much with that. There weren't a ton of change orders. Everything was well thought out and handled in a timely manner. So we were not.
So a good experience overall.
Mr. Clarkowski rated the project team as 9, experience and availability with 10s. And again, like Joe Johnner pointed out, they're local, located in Burlington. They have done several Walworth County projects, as Ms. Leith pointed out, and they have a good understanding of the project that we have asked them to be a part of. Their project manager has 21 years of experience, so that was pretty high too. All right, the third proposal was with,
Media Fest.
yeah. Can you go to that
I
slide?
don't know.
That was my number
Can
one.
you go to that slide?
It's on.
It's on.
Oh, I'm sorry. The pros from Mead and Hunt were, it's a national firm with local ties. They discussed they took the possible walking and bike path into consideration, and they had a very detailed explanation. Michelle?
Yeah, that's very similar to my comments, that they had a good understanding of the project and the railroad and Lake Beulah. I noted as well that they mentioned the bike path. Their plan was inclusive in their, for perspective, their 60% was May of '26. This was the one that I'm like, yeah, it's polished and probably costly, just the way they put it together, but it was very thorough and very clear presentation of the details on the project.
I thought that if they were the ones speaking to the public, I thought it would be really transferable. I also noted that they worked with the Village of East Troy on their
Right,
path.
West Street, I think it's
Yeah.
called.
West
And
Street.
they also had, a historian in transportation and community preservation, which was unique.
Agreed. Joe, anything
What-
else?
What you have listed is basically what I had them, I have them as my number one, on my list. I've done work with them in the past, doing pump stations, lift stations. I think they're a pretty well-known firm, they're very reputable, I think they'd be a good choice, so.
Chad?
Yeah, it was a bike path, and I haven't been around for a little bit, but, so, I know we got funding to look into that project and
The
like
Village
costs
of
and-
East Troy has the grant to do the feasibility study.
Yeah,
currently.
and they said, Mead and Hunt said it's $76,000 to look into the project, and they would be, so they would talk to the village, Mukwonago, town of Mukwonago, Village of East Troy, and Town of East Troy as a part of this, if they were to get this. And then they also discussed about, possibly widening the road, the intersection, on ES to accommodate traffic as one of the ways to, instead of rerouting, maybe be able to continue to use it, but it sounds a little more costly, but obviously we have no numbers here.
And the
And
fourth person who was in our group yesterday said, if we are doing the bridge, it may also behoove us to try to encourage the county to come into this project and look at reworking that whole intersection, which has already been cited as dangerous. If we're working on the back half of, the front end of Beach Road, it might be time to take a look at the whole intersection. He thought that maybe we could convince the county to join forces.
because it used to be 55, now it's 45, and, you know, I mean, that hill would cost millions to cut out, right? I mean,
Right.
if I'm just recalling, there was some pretty expensive, it would be a pretty expensive project to make that more safe.
Right.
That was interesting to me, and I just, because bike path is brought up, has there been any study on that, or?
There, I believe the village is currently in the midst of the feasibility study,
Okay.
because they got the grant to take a look at, putting that path in.
Gotcha. Okay, we can't have like opinions on bike paths right now, obviously but it would be nice if there would be at one time where you could have public
Agreed.
comment. and-
Agreed.
When I sat down yesterday with Joe Kroll and Richard Huff, there was a big thing too, as long as that bridge work was coming, is trying to see if they could try and help reconfigure that intersection.
Okay.
And then they also brought up, when we were looking at the proposals with the bike path, they have no objection to helping out within their right-of-way along Highway ES to include with bike path.
Interesting.
It's a change, because before they didn't want it down ES at all.
Yeah,
So
and,
that's a-
one of their things was with the bike path going under, like, following along railroad tracks, is all the problems that could create, like Milwaukee has, with hidden spots with people walking and biking, where,
The increase of crime,
yeah, where bad things could happen.
yeah.
That was their big concern with not running a bike path underneath that.
Good,
And
good
that's why
thoughts.
they said we would rather have it run alongside
Makes sense
Highway
with
ES
kids.
than be down in a hollow.
Got it. That makes sense. So anyhow, those were the three that the committee came up with. Michelle, do you have any others that you thought were better?
Nope.
So you're comfortable with these three?
Yeah, I think, overall, they all had strong qualifications, but like, I did like the idea of working with local options.
Right.
Yeah.
As I was told by Clarkowski and our consultant yesterday, interviewing these three, would be probably the best move because they felt that by getting them here in front of us, we would be able to better assess their ability to discuss the project with the public and be able to answer any little questions that maybe we came up with in the interim. So I will take a motion
What
I
that,
wanna explain to them
Joe
why
and
you're
Tim?
saying, because we don't let them know that we don't have to interview, right?
well, what I heard was the county said we don't have to, we could select one. But the consultant called me this morning and Clarkowski called me this morning and said, it is in your best interest to sit down with all three companies and interview them in person. He said, it's great to put things on paper, but things can get lost in translation when it comes to sitting down and meeting with you. That was the recommendation that I got. So,
Did we want to ask Joe or Chad if they had other than those three?
But we- oh, out of the 9,
Yeah,
okay.
you asked me.
I'm sorry. Well, Joe had told me is number 1 and I guess I skipped right over that, so
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. I like they were all really good.
Okay.
So to me, I'm open.
Thanks, Michelle.
Open-minded on that.
I mean, this by no means, it seems like an easy option. There was another one, Westwood, that the gentleman or project manager, whoever wrote the letter,
Yep.
he seemed to be from the area,
Right.
you know,
I would agree.
I'm not sure if that's still the case, he's voted here, but they had to seem to have a pretty good proposal also, but I'm the new guy here, so I'm gonna leave this up to you guys, you've kind of been in the midst of discussing that. From what I read, I think these three definitely have potential.
I'll just give you my con on Westwood. Westwood had no railroad bridge examples in the packet that they gave us. And so for me, that was a huge flag because this is a railroad bridge and I wanted to,
And when we set out our thing for the SNQs, it says right in there that we were doing interviews, so
Okay.
just to pick one, I think that would not be correct, because they're thinking they're gonna get an interview, and if they don't,
then we won't be following our path,
yeah.
so.
And that gives you the opportunity to get those clarifications on the 30, 60, 90% and everything like that, so it is a little more apples to apples.
Thanks, Jean.
So you need a motion
So-
to interview these people?
If that is the board's pleasure, I would take a motion on the three that we presented unless,
Well, I'll make a motion that we set up interviews with Mead and Hunt, Baxter and Woodman, and Aries on the Beach Road Bridge project.
second. Hearing a motion by Supervisor Leonard and a second by Church, all in favor? Any further discussion, I'm sorry? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. And with that, I will take a motion
I'll
to.
make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion, meeting is adjourned. Time is 7:15.